Good morning. Goedemorgen, gezegende Sabbat. As Arjan already mentioned, there's at the moment a really interesting series of Sister Tess. She started it, or she actually finished it, in Arkansas. It's about 2 weeks old now, or it went over the last 2 weeks. And I have just myself begun to study this series, and I found it interesting what I heard from the first few presentations. The first one was about a counterfeit everlasting gospel. And today I just want to try to give you an overview. It should be a short summary of what I have come to understand through listening to her. And but before we start, I want to pray with you. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you that we have the opportunity to come together here on this nice, beautiful, warm Sabbath day. Thank you that you have granted us your presence, that you told us that you would give a double blessing on your holy day. We want to ask your special presence in these hours when we open your word, when we listen to your truth, and we ask your Holy Spirit to be with us, to guide us, to give us understanding. Please give me the right words. Be with all that listen and open our hearts to what you want to tell us today. We ask all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay. Now, as I said, we want to have a look at the counterfeit everlasting gospel today. But to be able to consider the counterfeit, it's always good to know the original. That's why I first want to go to the real, original, everlasting gospel. And first of all, I want to ask the question, what is the everlasting gospel?
3-step prophetic testing, 3-step testing message.
Yeah.
Demonstrate to groups of people.
Yeah, very good. Maybe you are familiar with the definition we kind of adopted in our movement. The everlasting gospel is the work of Christ in first developing and afterwards demonstrating 2 classes of worshippers, and this happens based on a 3-step prophetic testing message. And this testing message is found in Revelation 14, 6-11, as we all know. It's the 3 angels' messages that we find there. We see there an angel flying through the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto all the nations of the earth. And this message contains 3 parts. The first one is fear God, give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come. And in this first one, there are already contained all 3 parts of the message, of the whole message. The second one is Babylon has fallen. The third is the judgment that is going to come upon the people that adopt the mark of the beast. And this message, this 3 angels message, is actually to be found in every story throughout the Bible. We can find it and apply it to every single story of the Bible. And every reformatory movement that we have seen from ancient times until today is based on this prophetic pattern that the 3 angels messages give us. It's also known as the 3-1 combination. Maybe that's a little bit confusing because there's a 1. It's the 3 followed by a 4th. There's also a 4th angel appearing in Revelation 18 that joins these 3. So this is the 4th, which we are not really going to consider today. But this combination, this 3-1, these 3 steps, the 3-step prophetic testing message. It's indeed a hard word to say. They are representing the 3 angels' messages. and they are the structure of every reform line, as we call it. And I have drawn this here for you. I guess you are all familiar with the reform line as we have developed it in this movement. A reformatory movement always starts with a period of darkness. The people of God is in a state of confusion, of darkness. Then there follows the time of the end, which is the end of a prophetic prophecy, a time prophecy. Is usually marked by increasing light that follows, the formalization of a message for this time, for this specific time that is given to a specific people. And then we have the actual 3 steps. The first angel's message, the second angel's message, followed by the third. And yeah, that's this pattern I want to give for the beginning. Then we go to Revelation. Let's turn to Revelation 12:7. There we read about the great controversy that started in heaven between Christ and Satan. If you want to turn in your Bibles with me to Revelation 12:7. Yeah, or in the notes, yeah. There it says, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." That's where the great controversy between Christ and Satan started in heaven. And we suggest that this war came to us down to earth. And it's there fought continuously then from there on as a proxy war, so to speak. We find this in Genesis 1:15. And I have this here in a quote from, is it Christ Triumphant? Yeah, Christ Triumphant, I think. 3:22.2. "The Lord said to Satan, that old serpent, it is the seed of the woman, the seed of the woman, shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." Genesis 3:15. Oh, sorry, there was a typo in the title. It should be 3, of course. "Christ in a special manner bruised the head of the serpent. But the prophecy is far-reaching. It is a declaration of an unwearied conflict between Christ and his followers, and Satan and his angels and human agencies on this earth, to the close of time." So this shows us very clearly this proxy war. A proxy war is a war that is fought by 2 parties that are not actually directly involved. They are fighting a war for 2 other parties that are not directly involved in the war itself.
And the war is not taking place in the nation of these 2 parties.
Yeah, and the war is not, yeah, exactly. And as we have come to understand also, is that Satan's mode, or his preferred mode of warfare, is usually or very often by counterfeiting the work he sees Christ doing. I have listed a few examples for you on the notes where you can see how Satan counterfeits the work of Christ or tries to copy the truth that Christ has given his people. It's always between, first maybe the heading, it's between Christ and Satan, Christ's church against Satan's church, or we find it in Revelation 12, the woman that is clothed by the sun versus the woman of Revelation 17 that rides the beast. And here we have, for example, Sabbath versus Sunday. Satan's counterfeit is Sunday, Satan's counterfeit of the day of worship, or the counterfeit of communion is the Mass, Catholic Mass introduced. Baptism was replaced by sprinkling. The eternal death they picture as eternal torture, purgatory. Prophets don't make mistakes. It's a principle that he turned into infallibility of the Pope. Then we have, for example, the 30 years preparation from 4 BC to 27 AD, which is counterfeited in 30 years of preparation by the papacy from 508 to 538. And maybe I can draw this quickly. If we have 4 BC, the birth of Christ, it took 30 years until his baptism. Until he actually started his ministry. And, oh yeah.
And then he works for.
Oh yeah, maybe I can already add this. Thank you. And then he worked for 3.5 years in public. He preached the gospel until the cross. And what Satan now did is he just copies this. We have a 30-year preparation period from 508 to 538 when the daily was taken away until the third horn was conquered. And then he works for 1260 days or 3.5 times. Oh, sorry, not so much space. Till 1798. Sir? Ah! Oh yeah, that's good to know. Is this clear so far? Yeah?
He was saying that we want, instead of the cross, that we want.
You have it in 1798, you have the that we want then.
That we want.
Is a counterfeit for the cross.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And the last one, oh yeah, you have also in the list 3.5 years public ministry versus 3.5 times papal supremacy. The last point will be explained later. Okay, I will wrap this off. Or, Oh, thanks. $15.
Nee. Letters afmaken? Ja. Wil jij aan de tweede doen?
Hè? Okay, I will try. I cannot really say how long it will take long. Okay, now we go in a little bit closer into the 1260 time period, because For Satan's church, the 1260, thank you, were a gathering time. It's when the papacy ruled the world, when they really had time to flourish, while God's people was scattered. And the job function of Satan's church on earth during that time consisted of two parts. It was first to control the kings of Europe, or as Revelation 17 says it, to ride the beast. And secondly, to destroy God's people, which happened mainly through the Jesuit order. That was their mission. For God's people, this was the scattering. When God's people begin their gathering time in 1798, what happens with Satan's church? What do you think? They go into a scattering time. And we want to read a quote from The Great Controversy, page 306.1, which is in your notes, because the persecution of God's people taking place in this time period actually ceased a little earlier than 1798, and we can mark here 1773. We will see that in this quote. In the Saviour's conversation with his disciples upon Olivet, after describing the long period of trial for the Church, the 1260 years of papal persecution concerning which he had promised that the tribulation should be shortened, he thus mentioned certain events to precede his coming and fixed the time when the first of these should be witnessed. In those days after the tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The 1260 days, or years, terminated in 1798. A quarter of a century earlier, persecution had almost wholly ceased. Following this persecution, according to the words of Christ, the sun was to be darkened. On the 19th of May, 1780, this prophecy was fulfilled. So, I want to go to this quarter of a century earlier. That's 25 years. And if we count back 25 years from 1798, we come to 1773. What happened in 1773? The Catholic people went into apostasy by the dissolution of the Jesuit order. They decided to dissolve the Jesuit, or abolish the Jesuit order. And this led to the fact that they forgot their job function, that they ceased to control the kings of Europe, and they ceased to destroy God's people. That's why God's people could have this time of gathering from here on slowly. What we see in the Millerite Reform line. And there is an Archbishop Manning, Catholic. He describes the condition of the Catholic Church around 1776 as darkness, confusion, depression, inactivity, and illness. So we have here the period of darkness that starts for Satan's church. And that brings us to the counterfeit reform line, to the counterfeit everlasting gospel that Satan introduced in order to save his work on this earth, in order to gather again his church. And we come here to the year 1916, which is the time of the end the end of darkness for Satan's church. What happens in 1916 is that an angel appears to 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal. So we see here marked the arrival of an angel. And a very interesting question that pops up when you hear that an angel appears to 3 shepherd children in Portugal is maybe that why would it be Portugal and not Italy or Rome, or at least somewhere in Italy? And we suggested that this is because the leadership is passed by, because they didn't fulfill their job function during the gathering time, or their time of flourishing. They failed to fulfill their job, so they were passed by, and the message instead goes to 3 shepherd children. And I find it also interesting that these children are shepherds, because in the time of Christ, when you look at the reform line of Christ, then you also see that the increase of knowledge concerns shepherds that are keeping their flocks. The message about Jesus' birth. Yeah. Yeah?
In the Great Controversy, it's also written that Portugal was the center of the Inquisition.
Oh.
So maybe that's also the reason why it's Portugal.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit more about this angel that appears to these 3 children. We see here.
Is it an accident that today is the 13th?
We see here in the appearance of this angel 3 components, because he is actually appearing to these children 3 times within the year 1916. And the first time he appears, the first time is characterized by fear, because the children were afraid of this angel. They didn't know what happens, and it caused them to be scared. But this is, of course, then not the fear that the real first angel's message would bring. It's not the fear of God. And they are advised by this angel to pray, or how to pray. They are to pray for peace. They are to pray rosaries. Because peace, because they were in the time of the First World War at that time. Then, they went their way. Time went on. This first apparition was in April. The second one happened in summer. And there the angel rebuked them because he found them playing instead of praying. And he said to them, "What are you doing? You should be praying. You have to pray a big deal." And he told them to offer reparation for their failure. That means that they started to inflict pain on themselves. That's a way in Catholicism that you torture yourself for your sin, it's not really nice. So this has to do with giving glory. I guess my time is already up. And the third apparition happened in autumn. There it was about the Mass. The angel kind of introduced the children to the Catholic Mass. They saw the angel appear with a chalice, that's een kelch, een schaal, een kelk, with the host hovering above the chalice and blood dripped into the chalice. That's all parts of the Catholic Mass. And the blood here is a symbol for judgment. I'll just keep it short because you have that in your notes. Then, now This happened within a year. The year 1916 was in, the three apparitions were in April, summer and autumn. And interestingly, that's also Ellen White language when she describes the Millerite movement. She talks about April, summer and autumn for as that the important milestones take place at these times. Okay, now we come to the actual first apparition of Mary. The children see an apparition of Mary, and the first one takes place in the next year on May the 13th. (1917). They see an apparition of Mary in a shining light, symbolizing the increase of knowledge, the increase of light. They were instructed to pray for peace, pray rosaries. It's more or less at every apparition about the same. They are instructed to pray for the world war to end, to pray rosaries. And they are also given kind of an overview of all the apparitions that are going to take place in this year. 6 times every month on the 13th they were to come back to this same place, which was it was in a little cove at a holm oak tree. Yeah, that's a detail, but it was the same place every time.
That's why it's the increase of knowledge, because they receive the knowledge for the rest of the life.
Yeah, for the rest of the line, like William Miller saw time unfolding until 1843, when it all should end. So far, the children kept everything for themselves. They didn't tell anybody about the angel that appeared to them 3 times. But at this point, when they first saw Mary, they actually start sharing with their parents. And because they do that, the message also starts spreading through Portugal. But at first, only little. And I would suggest that's the same in the history of William Miller. First there were only a few people. Also we see it in William Miller's dream. There were only a few people who went to come and see the little casket with the jewels. Then we have the second apparition on June the 13th. That was a feast day in Portugal, and that's the feast of Saint Anthony, which was the saint of preaching and teaching. That's a parallel to William Miller, of course, parallel to the Millerite line, the formalization of the message. William Miller starts preaching and teaching the message in 1833. Let me... Yeah, actually. At the third apparition, they are given the counterfeit 3-step prophetic testing message. Here, Mary appears to them and she shows them, first of all, or she gives them 3 secrets. It's called the 3 secrets. The first secret was a vision of hell. They saw the Catholic version of hell with burning people, really dreadful vision. Second secret was that Mary desired them to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart, which means that they should dedicate Russia in prayer to Romanism, to Mary. And this should lead to peace in the world. Actually, I can read you a short passage from an article to understand a little bit better what it means, the consecration of Russia. The reason Our Lady requested the consecration of Russia by the Pope and bishops of the Catholic Church was to prevent World War II and to prevent communist Russia from spreading their atheist ideology throughout the world, causing wars and persecution of the Church, the martyrdom of the good, the suffering of the Holy Father, and the annihilation of various nations. So, the purpose was to prevent Russian communism from bringing all this evil into the earth, into the world. And the third secret gave kind of the judgment that will come over the world if Russia will not be consecrated to Mary. And there was also their new job function. They were given their new, wait, let me see. Not that I go too fast. Okay. Actually, I forgot something at the second point. Lucia, which is one of the children, who's one of the children? There were three, Lucia, Jacinta, and Francisco. And at the second apparition, Lucia, who was she was the only one that spoke with Mary, she interacted with Mary, and she was given the commission to spread the message, to make Mary known and loved. And yeah, she was also the one who wrote down all the accounts of the apparitions. And she would then be the counterfeit of Ellen G. White because of that. So at the third step, they are given kind of the refinement of the job function, of this mission that was given to Lucia. And that mainly consists of the consecration of Russia. They should make this happen in the Catholic Church. We come to the fourth apparition, which was on the 19th of August, 1917. Because on the 13th, the children wanted to go to the site as usual, but they were actually kidnapped by the mayor of Fatima, and he tried to press out of them this third secret, because the third secret about this judgment that was to happen if the consecration of Russia did not happen was really a secret. No, Lucia did not never write it down. And he wanted to find out about this secret. So he bribed these children, he threatened them with death, and that happened when they were kidnapped here. He went to pick them up at their homes under the pretext to bring them safely to the site, because by that time a lot of people started to make a pilgrimage. There were a lot of pilgrims that went to this site because they heard about what was happening there every month, and he offered to pick them up and bring them there safely, but he actually kidnapped them. And what this shows us is the activity of the enemies. They also start to receive money from the crowd, and they ask Mary in this apparition what they should do with the donations of money, and she instructs them to build a chapel on the site where they have the apparitions, and this would be a parallel to the work of organization or to the year 2014. Maybe I can. And this would be, yeah. Is there a question? No? Yeah.
I would like to add that pilgrimage is every kinds of pilgrims are necessary for salvation, according to the
Yeah.
tradition.
Necessary for salvation.
Yeah, certain pilgrims.
Yeah. But this was just a phenomenon that occurred, like it's more that they had spectators. People heard about what is happening there, and they wanted to be part of it, and they wanted to see what happens. At that time it was not like a sacrament yet. But today still people pilgrimage to Fatima, that's true. Then the 13th of September, at this apparition, the children received a prediction about the apparition that was to take place on 13th of October. Oh, that's today. Yes. So, yeah, a prediction, that was the main ingredient of this apparition. That there was to be a sign for all the people to see that they may believe. And yeah, she said, Mary told the children that Saint Joseph will appear with the child Jesus and a few other of their saints. And to give you an idea, by that time, about 30,000 pilgrims gathered at the site of the vision. And that would be the prediction before the close of probation, or the PBM, yeah, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then at the 6th apparition on 13th October, there was, what was here striking? Yeah, actually there was a delay of this apparition, a disappointment. Because they didn't realize that Mary times her apparition by the sun and not by the clock. And on the day, or shortly before the apparition, there was torrential rain, really heavy rain falling. People pilgrimaged to the site with umbrellas, but by the time this sign appeared at the heaven, the rain had stopped and everything was suddenly dry. And yeah, you can link it to the latter rain. The outpouring of the latter rain is before this waymark. So quite some counterfeits. By this time, or at this event, 70,000 people gathered at the site. Yeah.
and all these people that were gathered, they also saw this.
Oh yeah, that's no. The children saw the apparition of the saints, like between the clouds they saw an apparition of Saint Joseph, Lady Dolores or something, and yeah, these saints. But what the spectators, the other people saw was just something like, yeah, just a special miracle on the, no, miracle, how do you call it? A special sign of the sun, yeah. The sun appeared in a pale light and there was like something like a rainbow. And it moved also in the sky. Yeah, if you want to know more about it, you can read a whole lot about it on the internet. Yeah, then how long did I go now?
45 minutes.
45.
In 3 minutes they are coming.
Okay.
The children.
Okay, then I can take time maybe to just summarize a little bit.
Say 3 minutes.
Yeah. During the 1260, which was the gathering time for Satan's church, Satan's agencies forgot about their job function and dropped it. They no longer controlled the kings of Europe, and they ceased to destroy the real people of God because they dissolved the Jesuit order in 1773. And to bring the Catholic Church back out of this mess, back out of darkness, Satan introduces a counterfeit revival message for his followers. And this began with the angel coming down in 1916, visiting these 3 children, followed by several apparitions of Mary, which are known as the miracle of Fatima. And now their job function is changed. They are introduced to a new job function in this reformatory process. They are to consecrate Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And yeah, this is in order to prevent them from spreading, to prevent Russia from spreading atheism and to bring peace into the world, to end World War II and to prevent World War II. Yeah. And ever since this whole story of Fatima, this Fatima, this message of Mary versus communism was used by the Catholic Church as their propaganda machine to reunite the Catholic people under the truth.
So also
Yeah.
the organization was passed by,
The leadership.
leadership was passed by, but eventually the leadership of the Catholic Church believed the whole story.
At the end.
No, yeah, in the end, no.
The thing is, that's then what you can now go into this and trace the history after. Did this consecration of Russia happen? If you look at the history, it happened, or they think it happened. In 1917, Lucia wrote to Pius the 11th, who was then 1937. The first time, and requests the consecration of Russia. And in 1942, there was the first attempt, but that was not Pius the 11th. He just decided not to do it. But the following Pope, Pius the 12th, he for the first time wanted to do this dedication, but it failed because he didn't do it in the right way. It's either it was not. Yeah, he didn't really believe it. He didn't take it serious. Not all the bishops of the world were gathered because Mary especially requested that all the bishops of the world have to be united with the Pope in this consecration. They all have to do this together, like we know it from the Catholic Church. They want to unite the world under one roof. So, yeah, there were actually then 5 more attempts to consecrate Russia, but it was always not worded correctly, or they consecrated the whole world, including Russia, but not specifically mentioning Russia. And then Lucia, who was the medium that Satan used, always received a no. It failed. It didn't happen. You have to do it again. And that happened twice by Pope Pius, 1942 and 1952. Then 1964 at the Second Vatican Council, but then not everyone was there. Then 1967 by Pope Pius I think that's a mistake. The sixth should be. And the last 2 were conducted by John Paul II. After his assassination, there was an assassination attempt made on him, which actually took place on the day of the first Fatima apparition, on the 100th? No, on an anniversary, 1981. Anniversary day of the first Fatima apparition. He was shot by the Soviet Union. Someone tried to kill him. And when he was, let me read this extract. I mean, they are not here. Yeah.
No, they're coming.
They're outside, okay.
Sorry? No consecration was successful then?
Not so far.
Third one.
After that, when he was in hospital because he was shot, he kind of, you know it, when you were faced with death, then you go back to, he went over, he studied deeply the message of Fatima. He wanted to know the truth, and he wanted to be close to God and fulfill his will. So he studied this message, and he actually found it, or he thought that it was written, or all this happened for him, that he was to be the Pope that dedicates Russia. And he made an attempt in 1982, a year later, on the same day, after his assassination attempt. But that failed again. And then the actual dedication that took place was on the 25th of March 1984.
That was okay.
And later, when they asked Lucia whether it was accepted, she actually never writes about that. Mary told her, yes, it's okay, but she said it was accepted, because you can afterwards also you can see that there was the fall of the Berlin Wall, the Soviet Union was destroyed.
She wrote a letter, right? Where she writes
Yeah.
a letter to a friend where she says it
Mhm.
was accepted.
Yeah, she writes that letter.
And I think
But-
I guess she also told the church that it was accepted, but the church never really, I think, believed it, or that they.
Yeah, because the thing is, in this dedication, they didn't really do it better than the other times. He was still afraid because of this attack that was made on him. They already tried to kill him, so he was very careful in phrasing this consecration. He said something like, "We dedicate to you the whole world, especially these nations that really need your intercession." And he meant Russia, but he didn't name it. So, yeah, you don't really know why then this should be accepted. And what I heard Tess doing, she also says in the next presentation that actually she doesn't really think that the dedication really happened, because Satan himself doesn't know that actually Russia is going to come back. But I really cannot tell you more details. I didn't really go deeper into it myself. But so far for the Catholic world, this is the valid dedication of Russia.
1984.
Yeah, 25th March. But then, yeah, you can ask yourself what is going to happen if they see Russia coming back. How will they react? Because the promise was that Russia would stop spreading her lies and atheism across the world. So yeah, it's interesting, and I think there is a lot more to get out of this.
But the parallel is also interesting.
Yeah, just to see how Satan copies the real reform line and makes his own counterfeit of it. It's more accurate and more resembling than we might think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shall we close with prayer?
Yeah. If there are no questions. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this hour. It became an hour. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you for everything we can gather from the truth that you unfold to us. We want to ask you that you make us firm in the real everlasting gospel, that we study the original so thoroughly that we might recognize the counterfeit when it comes on our path. Please help us to bless us in our efforts. Help us to take the study up and not to weaken in this. We thank you for the double portion of your blessing on your holy day, and we ask that you might be with us also in the second hour. Thank you that you were with the children as well. Give them also a special blessing on this day. We ask all of this in your mighty name. Amen.